What is going on, everyone? It's GeneralTarheel bringing you the APA WiFi Season 2 Week 10 battle versus Coach Kelly under the radar and the Maryland Torterrapins. Coming to Week 10, we did get a nice win last week against Jock and the Dunfermline Noons. So it's all tied up when it comes into divisional matches. When it comes to my division between me, Kelly under the radar, and Lindemar, we're all tied at 8-2 at this point. It was 7-2, but we decided the last person in our division, due to inactivity, would just give the rest of the matches forfeits, since they had no chance in the playoff race. And Kelly's team is definitely intimidating, but I was still looking forward to facing Kelly. But it was kind of unfortunate. Kelly did have something come up, which was probably not for me to share. I don't know. So it was just something important. He wasn't able to battle, so he did find a replacement. It was Ultra Player, if you ever heard of him. Kelly kind of scared me by saying his record was overall 250 wins, 60 losses, so 80% chance, or 80% win differential is kind of amazing. But so that was kind of intimidating. And then Kelly's team is already intimidating at that. In my opinion, it is so close to like a flawless draft. The only thing is that he has no ground immunities. So his draft consists of Mew, Infernape, Donphan, Mega Altaria, Empoleon, Alolan Raichu, Tauros, Scolipede, Zoroark, Licky, and Gourgeist. His 2Z users are Mew and Infernape, and like I mentioned, beautiful team, honestly. Like, he gets so many Stealth Rock options, and Mew, Empoleon, Infernape, Donphan, and then he gets dual hazards and Scolipede with spikes and T-spikes, and he's got reliable recovery mons and Mew, and then Roost, Altaria, Gourgeist Synthesis, and then Licky can wish past the things that can't get recovery, like the Donphan and the Empoleon. So it's very nice. Like, he's got a very solid team in my opinion. The only thing is the ground immunity, like I mentioned. He only has one immunity technically, and that's Altaria before Mega. So other than that, his only resist is Gourgeist. So and he has a decent amount of Mons weak to ground, which makes it even more interesting. So I did want to capitalize on that ground weakness this week when I was doing the team build, and I felt like since he could easily rotate between full offense and full defense. So I didn't really want to guess in between. I really just wanted to go full offense this week. And so I had two sweeping mons that I want to kind of rotate around. One was to capitalize on the no ground immunity, which was my Gliscor. I had Swords Dance, Earthquake, Agility, Roost with the Toxic or Poison Heal. To be ideal, I probably should have made it Substitute or Agility, but it's fine. 244 HP, 52 attack, 4 defense, 156 def, and 52 speed. The 52 speed was just enough to, I believe, outspeed a +2 Mega Altaria, or I think I checked that by how much he should speed creep for this match, since he's not going to be much, since Altaria should be bulky. And I believe I wanted to check a maybe I checked a Scarf Infernape, but I think I did. So there's that. Basically, Gliscor can put in a decent amount of work. If he wasn't an offensive Donphan with Ice Shard, then I could easily set up on that. Other than that, doesn't do too much. I had a lot of the Spadef investment, so I could live an Ice Beam from a Mew that had just enough investment for a Fire Blast to kill a Mega Scizor. So there was that. So it was just going to do a decent amount of work. Basically, it was going to weaken a team. I didn't really expect it to like sweep late game because it took a lot of necessary setup and it didn't really work. I feel it's a lot easier for people to prep for Gliscor just to run HP Ice or Ice Beam. So it doesn't really work all the time to have a offensive Gliscor like you could on the ladder with like the Stall Breaker with Swords Dance and stuff like that. So next up, for the possible sweeper, we have my Thunderous Incarnate, the kill leader for the team, rocking 12 kills. It has Nasty Plot, Substitute, Thunderbolt, Hidden Power Ice with the Electrium Z, with Prankster. This was basically just to set up and sweep. I only needed a little bit of chip and Stealth Rocks up in order to actually beat his team, depending on the sets that he brought, of course. basically +2 Electrium Z knocks out a Licky, which I'm assuming he would be preparing for a Fighting MZ at his face, whether that he'd be carrying the Choppleberry or he'd protect on the turn that I could go for an attack. So there's either of those options. And then if I do have Stealth Rocks up, I'll break the Donphan Sturdy, and if he's not Spadef invested, then a +2 Hidden Bar Ice will knock out the Donphan for sure. I knock out most Altaria sets with HP investment and some Spadef. With the +2 Hidden Bar Ice after Stealth Rocks. Stealth Rocks before Mega, so it does take the 25%. And majority of the time I will kill a Mew with +2 Thunderbolt. I just need to get a little bit of chip off on it first, and then everything else basically dies at that point. So Thunders can easily do some sweeping. The substitute was just in case the Licky did go for Protect against me, or if he did bring the Zoroark and I expected Sucker Punch shenanigans, so I could sub on that. So next up we have the Mega Scizor with Bullet Punch, U-Turn, Defog, Roost with a Spadef set with some defense. Basically I had enough bulk to live a Body Slam into a from Tauros, live a Body Slam into a Fire Blast if it was the standard Tauros set, which is very specific, and it really came down to me. If you got double max rolls, I'd be living at 1%, but that's just in case of like a very late game situation. Tauros did do a lot versus my team, so that was really scary in team prep. Next up, I had the Druddigon with Rocky Helmet, Rough Skin, Stealth Rock, Taunt, Earthquake, Toxic with 180 HP, 204 defense, 124 speed. 124 speed was allowed me to get a taunt off on the Empoleon, as well as the Donphan, because I've surely outsped that in case you want to put some speed investment. Just small things like that. Taunt did stop a possible Defog or Stealth Rock from the Empoleon. Mainly, it's probably going to be Stealth Rocks. This game I was expecting Stealth Rock and Empoleon with the Rapid Spin Donphan. And then I did have the Stealth Rocks to get up on his side of the field, because if he doesn't bring Spin Donphan, then I think I'm in a better spot, because I really wasn't expecting him to bring Defog this game, mainly because he's free to hazard stack me, because my spinners didn't have a good matchup this game, one being Claydol, which is garbage, and two being Serena, which gets countered by Infernape, Mega Altaria, stuff like that. So definitely felt like he would bring Scolipede just to hazard stack. That's the main reason I want to bring Scizor, because I can wall it defensively and then defog. But so that's why I was expecting a Rapid Spin, but that's why the Stealth Rocks, and then Earthquake allows me to the Infernape, the Empoleon. It just hits everything but the Gourgeist, like I already mentioned. No ground immunities, might as well go for it. And then lastly I have Toxic, just so that I can get it on the Donphan or the Licky or the Mega Altaria, in case he's not heal well, Mega Altaria or Licky. Next up we have Greninja, and he has no checks to Greninja. Like, technically his check is Empoleon, or the Spadef Licky that he would surely be bringing this match. But other than that, Greninja just has at his team. It's kind of crazy. We have the Life Orb Torrent with Taunt, Dark Pulse, Scald, Ice Beam. This basically just allowed me to tear through the team. I had the Taunt, so the Empoleon cannot get a Stealth Rocks versus me, or Defog, just in case that was its set. Of course, Taunt wouldn't work versus Licky, which kind of sucks. But basically, Empoleon wouldn't be doing anything back to Greninja, and then I can just Dark Pulse it down, and it could also force in the Licky, which in case I could go hard into Thunderous and start setting up stuff like that. So, and I did have enough investment to live a Life Orb, Mach Punch, or Vacuum Wave from an Infernape after one Life Orb recoil. And then lastly we had Entei, which he absolutely had like 0 checks for. Choice Band, Sacred Fire, Iron Head, Extreme Speed, Flare Blitz, Adamant with I think just enough speed for the bulky Altaria I predicted speed investment wise. There was another thing, I didn't creep max speed Altaria because that's a bad set, and I doubt he was going to bring that, so I had the Sacred Fire, just to get the burn off stuff and whatnot. It's the most damage in case I don't want to bring or get Flare Blitz recoil, but Flare Blitz does ensure a 2-hit KO on a max defensive Donphan, even if he does have leftovers. If he doesn't have leftovers, then Sacred Fire would be a 2-hit KO if I didn't get 2 low rolls, but Flare Blitz would just be the better click at the beginning of the game, and in the late game I can click Sacred Fire, especially if he doesn't get rocks up first me, because then it's more free to click damage recoil moves. Extreme speed for priority, of course, in the Iron Head to hit the Altaria, because since a defensive Altaria was a possible bring for him to counter Entei. So when I was looking at the beginning of the match, I basically predicted everything he brought. The only possible exception I was thinking was that he could sub out Mew or Mega Altaria for Tauros, and then that would do a lot versus my team. But other than that, I basically predicted everything that he was going to bring. At the start of the match, I was definitely just predicting the 3 bulk mons, and then in Empoleon, Licky, and Donovan, and then 3 offensive mons and Mega Altaria, Mew, and Infernape. So when I was starting off this match, I definitely just wanted to lead Greninja. It hit everything, it counters both of his rockers. Because with Empoleon lead, I can taunt that and then go for a Dark Pulse or either make a switch. Or if it was a Dawn family, I easily countered that out. And then it got a free Scald off or something. So. But he does decide to lead his Altaria, which is very smart considering he does take on the majority of my team. So I'm just going to opt to swap out right here and go right into my Gliscor. Just to mention that video thing's just going to be around the screen because it just didn't want to leave when I ever pop this up. Normally it does disappear, but it just doesn't want to. I have the mouse off the screen and everything, so whatever. So he's just going to Mega Evolve. He's just going to go for the Facade, which is interesting. So he does have the Facade instead of the Return, assuming I could get a Sacred Fire burn on his Mega Altaria. He wouldn't want that, so. And we do get our Toxic Orb. This does show him that I'm basically a Spadef Gliscor, but he doesn't know I'm somewhat offensive. But he just going the Mew here. It's a free Earthquake. Kind of wishing this was more of a U-turn Gliscor, because honestly, its setup is too specific, and so many things can counter with Hidden Power Ice and Ice Beam, so that's the only thing I don't like about Gliscor. Otherwise, I love a Gliscor, my loaded core. Like, I haven't used it too much this season, but it's worked well when it has. So I'm just gonna go harder Ninja here, expecting the Ice Beam, and he can't really do too much otherwise. But he does a decent amount with his Mew, showing he is an offensive Mew like I predicted. So this is a free Dark Pulse. He has no switching. Technically, he can go into the Licky, but it is a 3-hit KO on the Licky with Dark Pulse. So if I do get a flinch, then I'm in a good position. But I go ahead and pick up the I think it might have been a 4-hit KO on the Licky. But we pick up the crit, so I'm going to go for Dark Pulse again, because if I get this flinch, then the Licky's in a bad spot, and he might be forced to go into Empoleon, or just sack the Licky already turn 3 or 4, so. But he does get off the Wish, so he is forced to go for Protect here. He wants to keep his Licky healthy, so I'm going to go hard into Entei on his Protect, because I will knock out this Licky with a Flare Blitz the following turn, after its Wish. As he gets up the Wish, he is back to around 75%, which is perfectly fine. He's going to Protect just to scout what I am going to go for, because it is a possibility that I could be going for Iron Head on the Altaria on the switch, which was good on his part. So as he switches out his Licky, he goes into Infernape, which tells me that he's definitely the bulky Infernape set. As I go for the Flare Blitz here, he is indeed a Slack Off Ape, which I did think was a possibility, but Infernape just had a lot of offensive potential versus my team, even though it did get outsped by, actually got outsped by a good amount of mons. That's what I was expecting towards Scarf Infernape this game, but bulky Infernape was definitely a good bring on his part. There's no point in me staying in here, because he'd go for Earthquake or just Slack Off versus me over and over again. So I just want to go hard into my Torterragon, which is my designated Infernape counter. As he goes into Altaria, I really should have just went ahead and clicked Taunt here, but I wanted to go into my Mega Scizor anyways, as he goes for the Cotton Guard. And this is scary because I 1,000,000% know it says just enough speed for certain outspeeds, and then it's got HP Spadef with probably a little bit of defense. But this is the scariest Mega Altaria set you could find, because I already know it has Facade and it's got Cotton Guard. So and then he goes for Dragon Dance here, so I know its last move is Roost. I've used this set before. When it said Facade, I had Return, and I 6-0'd someone with Scizor. This is easily the best. I'm just gonna go ahead and pause. This is the best Mega Altaria set, easily, because unless your Fernape unless your opponent cannot basically counter this in any way. Because most of the times it's gonna get an outspeed after a +1 Dragon Dance, probably just enough to outspeed Gengar, which is clever. Then there's nothing you can really do about it, because it just, the Spadef bulk already with Mega Altaria is pretty good, and then the if you're facing an opponent with a very physically offensive team, the Cotton Guard drastically raises your defense, so they ain't gonna do crap. This is best against Scizors, because they're always gonna predict you just to be a Fire Blast Mix Altaria. So they're just gonna run Bullet Punch. No Scizor runs anything else, which isn't that strong. It does get Technician boosted, but it still isn't that strong of a move. So just for example, my Scizor, after it gets a Cotton Guard off, only does a max 20% to Mega Altaria, I think, or 24. I don't remember. It depends if Drastic is +3 or +4 on the calc. I don't exactly remember. I think it's +4. But so it's definitely the scary Mega Altaria. So if you ever draft Mega Altaria, I highly suggest getting a Magnet Pull Pokemon like Magnezone or Magneton, and just doing shenanigans with that. If you can get Dugtrio, that's just as good, even though you know, there's a chance of Skarmory and Celesteela, because this Pokemon does just sweep teams. If they're not careful and doesn't bring Roar or Toxic or anything like that, then it's definitely a problem. That's why I was kind of it was a real 50-50 for me whether or not I was going to bring Roar or Toxic on my Druddigon this week, but I really wanted to bring Toxic just because of other things on his team. Roar was probably going to be better, but I decided not to bring it, so this kind of scared me right here. But I did know I lived a +1 Facade. He gets a very hard hit off, but he does take Rough Skin, then Rocky Helmet, and my only play here is going for Taunt, just so he cannot roost or anything like that, and then I can at least deal with this thing if he decides to stay in. And then I'm going to keep Druddigon in here and just go for Stealth Rocks, because if he stays in, he takes more Rocky Helmet and Rough Skin, putting him just about in range of Entei's Iron Head. So, as I go for the Stealth Rock here on the Licky Licky switch in, right here I just want to go into my Gliscor, figuring Licky Licky's not going to do much because it's always a physical Licky Licky whenever you face stuff. But he was smart this week and brought a special Licky Licky. As I go into Gliscor, he actually just went for the Ice Beam. Wasn't really predicting it, but it makes sense since otherwise Gliscor could just take care or set up on a Licky Licky easily with sub and whatnot, and it also checks my Thundurus, so I'm just gonna go for the EQ to get off damage here, so at least Thundurus can get it in range. Putting it at about 40%, he will just knock me out with Ice Beam here. I figured I would just let Gliscor go. I really didn't think it was gonna do too much since that was an offensive Mew. I knew it had potential being Scarf since he was bulky and Fernape, because otherwise Thundurus can just sweep him here. So that's why I was predicting that. So I let Gliscor go down just to get off EQ damage. And right here, I just want to set up a Nasty Ball with my Thundurus. He can go for the Ice Beam. He's only doing like 40% of my Thundurus. And a +2 Thunderbolt will 1,000,000% take out this Licky Licky. And if he opts to go for a Wish, then it is perfectly fine, because then I could set up a sub the following turn. But I'm just going to go for the Thunderbolt here as the Licky Licky will go down. As he goes right back into his Mew, this is 1,000,000% telling me that he's Scarf. There's no other reason he'd bring it in, because it goes down to +2 Thunderbolt. I knew he could have went into Donphan and have a chance to get off Ice Shard damage. If he's a really Spadef Altaria, there's a roll on whether or not he would live. So I'm just going to go into Entei here, as I will eat this Ice Beam, knowing he's Choice Scarf. And then he has no switch-ins once again, because the Infernape will die on switch into a Flare Blitz. So he's basically got to make a sack here. Because Altaria can also not take a 2 Flare Blitzes at this point after it comes in on Stealth Rocks, because it is around the 75% range. As I go for the Flare Blitz on the Donphan switch in, kind of wishing I did Sacred Fire, but it wouldn't have killed the Infernape, so I wanted to make sure. Taking a lot of recoil. Right here I was really considering going into Greninja, but I couldn't risk him just going for EQ, but instead he just goes for the Ice Shard as I click Flare Blitz again. I had no reason not to, really. And this will knock out his Donphan, making it 5-5. Sorry, 5-4, because it killed his Licky Licky. And he freely goes into Infernape here. I figured he probably had enough speed, considering his bulk really only looked like an HP and a little bit of defense. But I wanted to go with Flare Blitz just in case. but he did slack off here, so showing all his outspeeding, so there's no point keeping Entei in here. As I click the Flare Blitz again, we will get him just around to the same HP he was last time. Slightly lower though. I'm down to very low percentage. I definitely want to switch out here. 1,000,000% he's going for the slack off in my opinion, and I checked the calc, and unless he's got a decent amount of SPDEF investment, Thunderous' electric EMZ will knock out this Infernape, and if he switches it gets a KO on anything else because I HP Ice the Altaria the following turn. So he goes for the slack off, he gets a recovery. With leftovers he's almost at 100. Basically I knew he needed a good amount of speed just to be able to outspeed, and he needed HP and defense in order to take it like that. Not too much defense, but some. So I figured this Electric MZ would kill. And as I go for the Gigavolt Havoc, you will see that this I forgot the emotes just take so long, and then the commentary just goes way too fast. You go for the Gigavolt Havoc, we nail the Infernape, and he lives on a very, very low percent, probably around 3%. He goes for the Fire Punch though, which is very nice because I am able to live. If he was Flare Blitz, it would be a double down, but I would honestly have nothing left for Empoleon. I'm just gonna go for Thunderbolt here, take out the Infernape. By the way, if he was SPDEF, I checked his set because he did send sets afterwards. I still got a very low roll on this Infernape. That was almost max low roll. I still had a chance of knocking that thing out. It had a 75% chance of knocking out in my favor. Okay, so he goes into Mew here. I went to T-Bolt because I really didn't think he'd had Mach Punch. It really only helps him versus Greninja in this matchup, so I really wasn't expecting him to have it, especially if he was bulky Infernape. He was slack off, Fire Punch, and probably EQ, and then something to deal with my Lodic. So he does just go for the Ice Beam as I went into Greninja because Greninja is still a good check. And this is a free Dark Pulse for sure. As I do just click that right here, his Empoleon will be going down to like half, showing he does have almost max HP, but he's not a SPDEF variant, most likely defensive. So that's what I was assuming, but I had to click Taunt here. I cannot let him get up Stealth Rocks if he had it on his Empoleon, because then my Thunderous and Entei die on switching. So. But he just goes for the Scald here, taking me down to 3 health. This showed that he was an offensive Empoleon, so he was HP, like max special attack, which is kind of crazy. Or not max special attack, but a decent amount of special attack. Because I know I have a good amount of speed on this thing. So I go for the Dark Pulse again. Doesn't matter if we get the flinch, because we're going to be going down to life recoil as I get him in red. As he goes for the Scald here. Now I 1,000,000% am forced to go into Thunderous. I really wanted to go into Entei and just be able to click Iron Head here, but it did not kill the Empoleon, so I didn't want to risk it. As I go for the Thunderbolt here, taking out the Empoleon, which is very nice. So Thunderous picks up another 3 kills, again very important to the team. With 15 kills overall, it's going to end up being number 2 on the MVP tracker. As he goes into Altaria here, which was very good. I thought I was going to Thunderous to force him to Mew, but when it showed that he went into Altaria, this was really good for me. Because I can just spam Hidden Power Ice. There's no reason not to otherwise, because as long as he's below 75%, like if he gets anywhere near 80 or above, then my Scizor's Bullet Punch cannot 2-hit KO. If I go for Bullet Punch, then he goes for Cotton Guard and then Bullet Punch again. I cannot KO. So I Nasty Ball here though, because if he goes for the Roost again, then I'm still in a good spot. I really lose nothing because he's still in the right percentage range. After I calc that Hidden Power Ice, it was kind of easier to guess where he was at. To be honest, I should have just clicked HP Icy and I still lost nothing, because even if he roosted, I would just still get off more HP Icy damage. That was kind of a misplay, but it didn't affect me at all because he was still in range. As I Mega Evolve here with my Scizor, I will just be going for the Bullet Punch on this monster. And if he goes for Cotton Guard, I have to hope I get the good rolls and he doesn't have a lot more defense than I expected. As I go for the bullet punch, we take him down to like 15%, which is very good. Doesn't even go for the Time Guard, he just goes for the raw facade. So, I go for the bullet punch one more time, taking out this Mega Altaria. I did figure he was just going for this facade so he can put me in range of use flamethrower, assuming it could knock out the rest of my team and if my Entei did not have extreme speed. But as the Mew comes out here, I'm just going to click bullet punch, and if it doesn't kill, then I can go into my Entei afterwards and just click my Bandit E-Speed. So I for sure won this game. It was a very scary battle nonetheless, because Altaria is such a great setup on. But Mew goes for the flamethrower on the Mega Scizor, and it doesn't even take it out because of the amount of Spadef I had invested to make sure I lived after rocks as well as take the Tauros hit, so it worked very well. As I go for the bullet punch, once again Mega Scizor will take out the Mew, picking up 2 kills this game, which is very nice, because I really haven't done too much with Mega Scizor this season, which is kind of unfortunate. But when went from a very scary and close match, ended up only being a ended up being a 3-0, which is kind of interesting, even though my Mons in the back, Entei and Trigon, were at like 30 health and lower, so that was kind of scary, like they were both under 10%. Or 15% I'll say, because Strata I think had a little bit more. But we do pick up the win, which is very nice. It does not ensure us playoffs still, though, because we're 1,000,000% able to beat Lindo, because then we're gonna have the most wins in the division for sure. If we lose to Lindo and Kelly beats Lindo, no, sorry, yeah, if we lose to Lindo and Kelly beats Lindo, then we're all tied up and it's going to come down to differential. But if I lose to Lindo and Lindo beats Kelly, I'm more than likely second and I make playoffs because Kelly's differential will be way too low at that point. And, no, sorry, wait, what am I saying? If I lose to Lindo and then Lindo beats Kelly, yeah, no. So, it really just comes down to the match versus Kelly and Lindo, because if Lindo beats Kelly, then I think I make it no matter what. But if Kelly does beat Lindo, then it's going to be a little bit closer. And I really if I lose to Lindo, I just want it to be a small margin. And if I win, that'd be awesome. So definitely bring in a very strong team versus him already, as I already prepped. And I'll see you next week for APA Wi-Fi. Make sure to sub, like, share, deuces.